Welcome to Keep Going, a podcast about failure and success, hosted by John Biggs. Every week, we talk to an amazing person about a time they failed and what they learned. And remember, when you're going through hell, keep going.
Welcome back to Keep Going, a podcast about success and failure. I'm John Biggs. Today on the show, we have Satish Nayyar. He's the CEO and founder of TinyFish. Welcome, Satish. I suspect TinyFish isn't like a fishing product, right?
Thank you for having me, John.
Yeah.
The name itself is somewhat unique, and I think it's a good icebreaker. Definitely not. I wish that TinyFish is...
That would be cool. To just like sell fish. That'd be really nice.
That would be nice, right? I think tinyfish.com would have been available. It's not, because we sort of take the ship and go watch whales and, dolphins constantly, but we never think about the tiny fish in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So our company name is an homage to the little beings that are really making the ocean work. They are in the food chain, they are in the cleaning ecosystem, and they are making everything work, the reefs and everything, right? So obviously we're an AI company. And in this context, we think that there is an opportunity to be for every fish in the ocean, not just for the large fish. So that's the reason why our company is called TinyFish.
Okay. So just briefly, why don't you talk about what this company does? This is your second company, right?
Yeah. So I have been, in the last 14 years, I've done two companies. I was one of the earliest guys and president of a company called Nutanix. We took the company public in 2016. I was there until 2018, left and became the CEO of a company called ThoughtSpot. I was there for 6 years. And then last year, I left to start TinyFish with two of my co-founders, Keith and Shu Hao. TinyFish is an agentic company in the world of AI, focused on making web operations, like human-like reasoning, human-like browser access, but at a superhuman scale. And there are lots of things you can do if you get it right. It's a hard problem to solve, but we're just getting started.
So tell me about the process of leaving that public company and starting something new. What was that like?
Leaving public company was not a difficult decision. And there are two reasons why I left. And the first is I was running the go-to-market. So the company, we were a very small company, pre-product when I started there. When I left, we were like 6,000 or so people. The company's been public for a couple of years, which was a little over $10 billion in valuation. Running a public company's go-to-market is a really, really difficult thing to do. And I realized that I was not having that much fun doing it, because it was becoming, every room that you go, the questions that people are asking are all like the same questions I've heard before. Often it is about pricing and discounts as opposed to what I used to like, which was figuring problems and solving them and all of that. The second thing was I was the number two guy in the company. There was a CEO and I was the president. And honestly, I wanted to be the number one guy. I wanted to try what that is like. And that's how I leaving. So it wasn't very difficult. I never had a problem leaving companies. I don't know how that, it's just been, I leave and move forward. That's it.
That's an actually interesting point. So talk to me about that idea of, it's not quite loyalty, right? Because, we could argue that the average company is not loyal to us. So why should we be loyal to them? But there is something in us that wants to stay and wants to make sure and wants not to jump out of that airplane. What do you think it is in your makeup that allows you to, I guess, escape like that?
Yeah, so maybe the way I framed it makes it look it's a callous move. I work out of passion. I am like all in when in companies. But you're absolutely right. Now, as a founder of a company, I want to be able to say like everybody should come and this is going to be like this journey that we will all go together, mission driven. And all of those are true. Particularly when you're starting a new company, I would rather invest in people who believe in our mission than any specific skill that they're bringing in. Because startups, particularly in today's environment, it is extremely vague in terms of where it is going. It's extremely foggy. The directions are very clear. So the thing that keeps you going is togetherness, and which is all about mission and making sure that they're part of it. But at the end of it, though, you are absolutely right. A company is a contract that we are building with our people to a certain extent. So there are three constituents as a CEO that you'll be thinking about: the investors, our customers, and our employees. All of them are contracts. Often we don't talk about it because it is not our best interest to say that as founders and CEOs that, we are all in this together, like Mark Benioff calls Ohana and all of that. But if you live long enough and something really bad happens to you, like you have a health issue, you broke something, then you realize, how does that circle get built? If you're a really good guy, everyone likes you, they will call you for 2-3 days, check on you. They will text you once in a while, but the ones who are really taking care of you will be the family. The ones, if you're lucky enough that there are people who love you enough unconditionally, they will take care of you. Funny way, they're the ones that we don't think about and care about when the company's doing well. So if the companies, you're having a lot of fun, you're taking your family for granted. When the companies struggle, you usually take that problem and unload it on them. Even then, you're taking it for granted. So if you're smart enough, if you pay attention to what's happening in your life, you realize at some point in time, to build a company of consequences, a company where people love to come to work, you have to figure out what is that relationship like. Ultimately, it is a professional relationship, but at the same time, purpose and professional relationship coming together where the relationship are very clearly built, the lines are clearly drawn. I like that approach. So I am all in until the day I'm not. Now, as a founder of a company, it's a little different for me, but that wasn't the case. And that has nothing to do with being disloyal or any of that stuff. Mm-hmm. Fight passionately for the companies that I believe in. I don't join companies unless I believe in the mission.
I think a lot of people have problems understanding what it means to either go all in or be passionate about a particular thing. Right? Well, we don't grow up. We want to be astronauts when we're kids. We don't want to run a agentic AI company. And to a degree, that's kind of mean to say, but it's also something that a lot of people have a hard time understanding, right? How can you be passionate about that thing? And there's a lot of stuff on LinkedIn where they make fun of that kind of attitude. What does that mean to you to be really passionate about the company? Is it the mission? Is it the technology? Is it the chance to work with the right kind of people? Is it the fact that you might be able to get a big payday afterwards? What drives you in that?
Yeah, as usual, Japanese have good templates for most of this. And one of them that they talk about is Ikigai, which is a function of like 3 Venn diagram of circles coming together, or 3 or 4, depending on how you look at it. One of them is like, what are you good at? What makes you money, and what does the world need or the company need? And if you put it all together, you eliminate and find something that you really like that actually makes you money, that you are good at, and what the company needs. I think that is a good framework to think about passion. It is not empty rhetoric in the sense that pretty much everybody that I meet in our industry, particularly in the Bay Area bubble, they genuinely believe in their companies. And it is not just a function of execs or founders or CEOs. No, it's every person who joins the company. They are basically saying, particularly in the US, when you join a company, you are saying sometimes my healthcare, my family's healthcare, sometimes immigration status, all of those are on your hands. So I'm not going to make that decision, willy-nilly. So people are passionate about it. Often they want to be in a company where they like the people, so that in good days, the company will take you, but in the bad days, you come to work because you like the people around, right? So that is absolutely real. It matters. Second is, you have to eliminate. Like, I might be, like, maybe I wanted to be a cricket player or an astronaut when I was growing up. But once you get on the ground, you realize, like, you're really suck at cricket. So you got to start eliminating things and be realistically honest about that. I can't play guitar. I can't do this. I can't. The other thing, all that is left in that Ikigai template is like, I used to like carpentry. But it's very clear that I can't make any money by doing carpentry. Art, sports, all of those things, you realize you can get 80, 90%, but the last few percentage, there are like exceptionally talented people. So in a sense, if you are a good person who clearly understand how to see where you are, what are your strengths and weaknesses, you eliminate, and then you get to a point where you realize that Ikigai is very clear. And then the question is, if you're not a sociopathic person, you just have to realize that winning means togetherness, in the sense that you don't try to keep the pie small enough and take a larger slice. You just have to make it as big as possible so that your size is growing along with others. And that is also a hard thing to do. But if you do that part right, it is easy to find in Bay Area, specifically in our industry, plenty of choices where you feel like, I'm passionate about the mission. I like the people. And I think there is a reasonably good chance that this will be successful and give me some financial freedom.
How do you tell the story of AI when basically everybody's telling the story of AI, right? So you could basically say agentic AI doing blah-de-blah and it becomes white noise. How do you tell that story in a saturated market right now?
If you go to our website, you can clearly see how we did it. We don't talk about the AI story. We don't talk about the technology behind it as much as we talk about the outcome that customers are looking for. That also is like a complicated word now. But let me tell you, the story that we shared, Tiny Fish, on our website, our client is Google. And Google has this product called Google Hotels. Essentially, it's a travel meta in the sense that they don't sell you the product, but they will tell you what the price is and availability. So they'll send you to OTAs like Expedia or Booking.com to buy the product. What is Google's mission? They want every single hotel to be available on Google Hotels, so that when John is looking for a hotel, they show you the name, the address, the location, the direction, and the inventory and pricing. Now, there are thousands and thousands of hotels. They are unable to upload the pricing inventory to Google's API. Why? Because if I search a hotel, I can find out when is it open, what is the address, how many restaurants, what's the menu, all of that. The most important thing is though, do you have rooms available and how much does it cost is not something you can rag, you can't search. It needs to be interacted with. If you're saying, what's the price at the hotel? John, when are you going? How many people? What kind of room? What kind of corporate discount you have? Unless you give all that, you don't get the answer. The story that we highlighted is a tiny fish. This is actually a remote corner of Japan, a small hotel called The Week. 8 rooms, that's all they have. And they have this independent booking system. Our agents will log into this booking system multiple times a day, create different scenarios of room booking, Monday checking out, Friday checking out, whatever. And then look at the availability and pricing. And without them changing anything, we put it on Google. All of a sudden, instead of Google saying, call hotel to find pricing or inventory, which most people will simply skip and go to the next hotel. Now this hotel and other hotels like that will start showing up with price and inventory. All of a sudden, this little hotel, without changing any technology stack, is now on the Google platform with inventory and availability, pricing. Google are now showing more enriched content and consumers have more choices. When you think about this, all this brouhaha about AI, if anything, what we are doing is creating even more distance between the haves and the have-nots. The problem is it's going to be a very minuscule basis point people who will have everything. 10.99% of the world will not have any of these things other than chat agent on ChatGPT or WhatsApp. For us to really deliver value everywhere, we have to reimagine internet. Like, are we simply going to sleepwalk from SEO to GEO? Are they going to say, like, which podcast should I listen to? Should listen to John Troy? No, we can't settle for this kind of thing. Internet needs to be bent to our will. So an outcome-driven internet is absolutely necessary. And I think we can play a small part. So we tell that story. We don't tell agentic AI, hallucination, and all of that stuff. That is, obviously, we'll tell to the technology people, but we focus on why this matters more than how we do it.
It's actually a fascinating story. I mean, I didn't think about it in those terms, but yeah, if you're not connected to the API properly, Google doesn't know you exist, and those folks in that hotel are essentially stuck because if they don't know enough to do the right coding. What drove you to do this? Was it that story, where that tiny fish story, where you can help 1,000 small companies get more online?
I wish I could say it that way because that sounds more noble, but it's much more pedestrian. I'll tell you. So, just like every startup, if you ask founders, most people will say, "Oh, I had this idea." It usually starts with people. You start with eliminating people and say, "Who do you want to work with? Who do you not want to work with?" So 3 of us are co-founders. Keith, Shuhao, and I, we are very different people. So Keith, you will appreciate this. He was a Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg journalist until Tiny Fish. He was even nominated for Pulitzer finalist for writing about Hong Kong protest. He and Shuhao were middle school friends. And Shuhao, and they grew up in China. They had an interesting story. Shuhao is this deeply technical. He always believed in browsers being abstracted away from humans so you can absolutely deliver value. For me, my last company was analytics. And one thing I realized was no matter how great your tool is, garbage in is garbage out. One thing we realized was the freshest data always originates out of internet, but you can't use it because there is too much noise. Just like water comes out of the rivers, but there is too much pollution. So you have to filter the water, just like the data needs to be filtered, ETL, move it into Snowflake, put it into a Tableau, then analyze it from a dashboard. This is too expensive, and there are lots of companies like Modern Data Stack and all those things built just to make this thing successful. What if you send agents directly to internet, pre-process, reason like humans, post-process, and bring the freshest data without noise? What are the use cases that'll pop? That was good for us to imagine. That doesn't mean that immediately we thought there will be use cases like this small hotel or other competitive analysis and all of that. But we knew that if you honestly build a company like that, where value creation will follow, use cases will happen.
Interesting. Yeah. And why did Keith go from journalism to this?
Well, journalism, you know what is happening to them. I'll tell you, Keith and Shuhao, they are exceptional people in the sense that they know each other for 30 plus years now, and they never fought. One of the things that I was asking them was, like, when is the last time they fought? They fought in the middle of some of the middle school days. Keith primarily followed because Shuhao wanted to do this. That is the relationship they have. That's the honest answer. However, what Keith passionately believes is that you have to remove barriers to accessing information. Because remember his story of the story that he got nominated for Pulitzer is Hong Kong protest. It's ultimately, remember the days. So he passionately believes that if surveillance capitalism, essentially internet was built because it was for discovering data, information. That was the noble cause. What happened is grew so big, so fast that it was impossible to find anything. So we just went to Google and Facebook and others said, you know what, we can't find it. You tell us. And again, Google is as good a company can be. Organizing world's information is their cause. They still stick to it. However, though, when you build the only way to enter this walled garden of internet to find anything, make sense of anything, you have power. And the power is, I get to tell you where to go. And next thing you know, all of these companies are fundamentally flipped. So if you want to be found now, you have to either pay dollars or click on dopamine, or you have to figure out some other way to game the system. So what happens now is that we moved that. For Keith, and for that matter, Shuhav and I as well, this can't be. And for Keith specifically, he realized that if we were to go from this idea of blue links on the first page to one answer from a ChatGPT kind of an agent, this cannot be. And you can clearly see OpenAI is moving this into even commerce and payment. Which podcast, which coffee, which protein drink should I buy? And people are just going to conveniently follow that. And that will... If you have the best coffee shop or best coffee plantation owned in small, it should be measured and valued based on how good your coffee is, not how great you are in your tech stack or how good you are in gaming the LLM so that they give your answer. So I think that's the reason why Keith joined.
We should do a brief thing about how it's great to hire journalists, but I think we already know that hiring ex-journalists is of vital importance right now.
Anthropic, you see Jack Clark, he's an ex-journalist as well. And Keith, in the last year plus that we have been building this, his ability to ask the right question, listen, connect the dots, research. This is an industry where no one has any clue, John. Anyone who says what's happening in the next few years from now, they're all full of it. Curiosity, being a student of the business that you're in, is the most secular thing that you can have. And journalists, specifically people like Keith, who have done it at the highest level, they have so much of it. Our company is running because of people like him, and Keith himself, for example, wired himself to every part of the organization, connect the dots, ask the right question, make people see what they don't want to see. All of those skills are extremely important. We are all winging it. He's professionally trained on that.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. This has been actually pretty cool. So it's tinyfish.ai. You can actually see that live hotel pricing. You can see a nice little. You can see a cool story about that hotel. Only 8 rooms this hotel has, right?
Yep, 8 rooms.
Yeah. Fascinating. Sudarshan, thank you for joining us. It's been really fun.
It was great talking to you, John. Keep doing what you do. Thanks a lot.
This has been Keep Going. I'm John Biggs. We will see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Keep Going, a podcast about success and failure. Remember, Keep Going is entirely listener supported. If you're listening to this, please head over to keepgoingpod.com, where you can subscribe to the podcast for as little as $5 a month. This is a labor of love, and every little bit helps. Thanks for listening.